Did you know an estimated 84% of people have experienced a toxic relationship, with nearly 1 in 3 reporting that it significantly impacted their mental health? This highlights just how widespread toxic relationships are and emphasizes the serious effects they can have on emotional well-being and overall quality of life. So let's identify the top 5 signs of toxic relationships and see if we can spot them in real-life scenarios. Toxic relationships can be incredibly damaging to our mental and emotional well-being. Identifying them early on is crucial for overall health and happiness. But before we go into the signs, it's essential to understand why recognizing toxic relationships is vital. Toxic relationships have a big emotional and psychological impact on us. They can lead to feelings of low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. But what are some common signs that you might be in a toxic relationship? Well, one of the most obvious signs is feeling drained or exhausted after interacting with the other person. You might also feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid conflict or arguments. Another common trait of toxic relationships is a lack of boundaries. When someone constantly disrespects your boundaries or pushes you to do things you're not comfortable with, it's a major red flag. You might also notice that the other person is extremely critical or judgmental, always finding fault in you or your actions. It's also important to recognize when someone is overly clingy or possessive. If you feel like you're being suffocated or controlled, it's time to take a step back and re-evaluate the relationship. And finally, if you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to others or feeling like you're not good enough, it's possibly a toxic dynamic. So, before I get to how you can spot toxic relationships via the 5 key steps in helping you identify them, I'd like to ask you to subscribe. It helps our channel know what you want to hear about. Thanks in advance. Okay, now to the 5 key steps in helping you identify toxic people. First, trust your instincts. If something feels off or doesn't feel right, it's essential to listen to the inner voice. Secondly, when interacting with someone, a second way to identify toxicity is to pay attention to how they make you feel afterwards. Do you feel uplifted and supported, or do you feel drained and exhausted? Your emotions are a powerful indicator of whether a relationship is healthy or toxic. Third, it's also crucial to set clear boundaries and communicate them effectively and assertively. Don't be afraid to say no or express your needs and wants. Remember, healthy relationships respect boundaries, while toxic ones disregard them. Fourth, observe how the other treats others. Do they speak negatively about their friends or colleagues? Do they have a history of manipulating or using others for their gain? If so, it's likely they'll do the same to you. Finally, fifth way of identifying a toxic relationship, and a critical one that often goes unnoticed, is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a manipulative tactic when someone makes you question your own sanity or memory. They might deny previous agreements or conversations, or even tell you that you're overreacting. Gaslighting can be incredibly damaging to your self-esteem and confidence. It's essential to recognize the signs of gaslighting, such as feeling confused, anxious, or unsure of yourself. A crucial aspect of gaslighting is the manipulation of emotions. Toxic people might use guilt, anger, or self-pity to control and manipulate you. It's also important to recognize when someone is projecting their own insecurities or flaws onto you. This can be a classic sign of gaslighting, where they accuse you of doing or feeling something that they themselves are doing or feeling. In summary, recognizing toxic relationships is fundamental for our emotional and mental well-being. By following these 5 key steps, like trusting your instincts, paying attention to how someone makes you feel, setting clear boundaries, observing how they treat others, and recognizing gaslighting, you can spot toxic relationships and maintain healthy boundaries. But do remember that identifying toxic relationships is just the first step. The next step is to take action and prioritize your own well-being. If you have any experiences or questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about building healthy relationships, be sure to check out the next video.